sighed deeply, but presently he added, "All the same, it was well thought of. That is how us all would think. But it doesn't really matter." They proceeded to depict their camp. Aslan's mood affected everyone that evening. Peter was feeling uncomfortable too at the idea of fighting the battle on his own. The news that Aslan might not be there had come as a great shock to him. Supper that evening was a quiet meal. Everyone felt how different it had been last night, or even that morning. It was as if the good times, having just begun, were already drawing to their end. This feeling affected Susan so much that she couldn't get to sleep when she went to bed, and after she had lain cutting sheep and turning over and over, she had Lucy give a long sigh and turn over just beside her in the darkness. "Can't you get to sleep either?" said Susan. "No," said Lucy. "I thought you were asleep." "I say, Susan." "What?" "I've a most horrible feeling as if something were hanging over us." "That'd be because, as a matter of fact, so have I. Something about Aslan," said Lucy. "Either some dreadful thing is going to happen to him, or something dreadful that he's going to do." muscle him, said the witch, and even now as they worked about his face putting on the muzzle, one bite from his jaws would have cost 2 or 3 of them their hands, but he never moved, and this seems to enrage all that rabble. Everyone was at him now, those who had been afraid to come near him, even find their courage, and for a few minutes the 2 girls could not even see him, so thickly was he surrounded by the whole crowd of creatures kicking him, hitting him, spitting on him, cheering at him. At last the rabble had had enough of this. They began to drag the bound and muzzled lion to the stone table, some pulling and some pushing. He was so huge that even when they got him there, it took all their efforts to hoist him onto the surface of it. Then there was more tying and tightening of cords. The cowards, sobbed Susan. Are they still afraid of him, even now? When once Aslan had been tied, and tied so that he was really a mass of cords on that bloodstone, a hush fell on the crowd. 4 hags holding 4 torches stood at the corners of the table. The witch bared her arms as she had bared them the previous night, when it had been Edmund instead of Aslan. Then she began to whet her knife. It looked to the children when the gleam of the torchlight fell on it, as if the knife were made of stone, not of steel, and it was of a strange and evil shape. At last, she drew near, she stood by Aslan's head, her face was working and twitching with passion, but it looked up at the sky, still quiet, neither angry nor afraid, but a little sad. Then, just before she gave the blow, she stooped down and said in a quivering voice, "And now who has won? Fool, did you think that by all this you would save the human traitor? Now I will kill you instead of him as our his face with